David, one of the things that I really enjoyed talking to Don about the accident in the off season was how that family came together at GWA. You're close to those people, and he was touched by the support he got from the community and his coaching staff.
Yeah, it's a close-knit community over there. I mean, it's a relatively small school. Everybody knows everybody, one of those kind of situations. And of course, when that happened, people tend to rally around each other, and they really did. People came together as soon as the news broke. People were scrambling to get to him, to get to his family, let everybody know. And could have been a potentially tragic situation. It was a bad accident, and fortunately he came out okay. But yeah, it's always neat to see how people react in adversity, and really kind of brought them together, I think.
You can't find anybody with a bad word about Don Williams, and just really class guy and really nice guy.
Yeah, Coach Don's, he's a lot of fun. Known him for a lot of years now, and worked with him covering that program closely. And everybody's got a Don story. He's quite a character. He's a good coach too. Good guy, and has really built that program up to what it is today. Of course, they're struggling this year, but for the most part, it's a solid program, and a lot of the credit, most of the credit, probably would go to him.
All right. While we're talking about GWA, the Bulldogs against Providence this Friday night. Region ball game, and as we said, things not going their way right now, but he was saying that by mid-season they should be a pretty good football team, and that's the way it looks like it's going to happen.
Yeah, this week should help them get well. Providence, this is their first year varsity program, so certainly they should be able to to work on some things this week. You would think a win is almost guaranteed here. But right now they're just really down. Their numbers are down. They don't really have a lot of playmakers on offense. Defense, they continue to give up a lot of big plays. So yeah, hopefully by midseason, hopefully by then it's not too late. Because of course nowadays with Class A, winning regions, well, if you win a region, you're guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. But of course, the power rankings are everything, and they're really behind the 8 ball right now. The initial power rankings that came out last week, they were 22nd out of 28 teams, and you need to get into that top 16 to make the playoffs. So if they go into mid-season 1-4 or something, they're really going to be struggling, and maybe even need to win out to move up into that top 16 spot.
All right, so other games coming up this week. Walnut Grove's going to try to rebound after their first loss, and they took on Riverdale, a region ball game against a team they probably don't know much about.
Yeah, and I think you're going to probably hear that a lot every week. Now they've moved down to that southern region in 4 Quad A. Riverdale down in this Clayton County area with the Morrows and the Jonesboroughs, a lot of old traditional programs down there. Play at Old Terrace Stadium. So yeah, that's kind of, football down there used to really be there were a lot of powerhouses down there back in the day. They've kind of fallen off lately. Riverdale, they've struggled over the past few years. They seem to actually be a little bit better this year. They're 2-1 coming in. Their 2 wins weren't against really impressive programs. So, but we'll see. Walnut Grove, they need to rebound this week. That was a shocker for me personally. Like I said last week, I looked down their schedule and really see another. I guess I jinxed them. Sorry, Coach. But yeah, I mean, they really need to turn things around. And it's not like they don't have the talent. They're just shooting themselves in the foot a lot of ways. I know you were at the game. I think they had a turnover that cost them. They had a 3rd and 18, gave up a touchdown early on, and got in a deep hole at halftime. And after that, I just don't think they have the offensive firepower to come back from that deep of a hole right now.
All right, Loganville's got a big ball game against the Windebarra team that's better than they have been the last few years, but you'd expect the Red Devils to win.
Yeah, you would think so, but yeah, like you said, I know I think you covered Winder for a lot of years.
Yeah.
They've been down, I guess, the past 3 or 4 years, really struggling. But yeah, like you said, it seems like they're in games now. They had that big win against Appalachia, their crosstown rival, a few weeks ago, and they're showing signs of really digging out of that hole and coming back. Loganville has a chance to really, I guess, make some short-term history anyway. They're 2-0 for the first time in a long time, and if they could win this, they'd be 3-0 for the first time in maybe 7-8 years. So, and it would be another big region win. Of course, they're in the region schedule right now from here on out. And I think they've got an opening now. Clark Central doesn't look as good as we thought they would coming into the season. Of course, Flowery Branch Gainesville probably the top 2 teams in that league, but right now Loganville's sitting in 3rd place, and it's still early, but it looks like, if they can win out here, or not win out, but keep going along, they should be in pretty good shape.
Tell you what, that region, Flowery Branch is playing a freshman quarterback, so you never know, and Clark Central not as strong as usual, and Gainesville seems beatable, so it could be really interesting.
Yeah, well, they've got the toughest, they've got their last 3, I think, Flowery Branch, Gainesville, and maybe Clark is their last 3 games, so they really need to keep winning here before they get to that stretch. And then, as I talked to Coach Parrish early in the season, he just said it, we've got to surprise somebody, we got to win the games we're supposed to, but somewhere along the lines, you got to beat somebody that you're not supposed to. And, hopefully in those last 3 games, if they can, honestly, if they could go 1-2 over their last 3 games, I think they're going to be in good shape. The wild card this year in that region is Lanier. They just moved in. Of course, they beat Flowery Branch last week. They're tied for first, and I felt like all along, having watched them in Quad A last year, that they were really going to make some noise. And they're just a good program. They're a really up and coming program. But yeah, I think Loganville right now, based on their start, and if they can win again this week, they're going to be right in the thick of it, I think.
All right, Social Circle is going to be at home against Riverdale, and a lot of folks picking Social Circle to, they're against Putnam County, but a lot of people picking Social Circle based on the fact that they're in a new facility last week, and that's really nice, but it takes more than artificial turf to turn a program around.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a lot of excitement, and people tend to lose sight of reality sometimes when you get in that excitement. But you watch the Social Circle team, and I think you've already seen them a couple of times. Clearly they're much improved, but the fact is, talent matters a lot, and it's not that they don't have some talented kids, they just don't have a lot of depth. And a game breaker, or and then when you make mistakes, you have turnovers, it's going to cost you more than the team that's has an abundance of talent. Every week we're going to be watching this closely and just hoping and waiting and seeing when that streak's going to end. It could be this week. Putnam, of course, had an interesting situation last week with all the storms blowing through the area. Mm-hmm. They were over at Oconee County, actually near where I was at George Walton. And apparently the weather had cleared enough, the officials decided they were good to go. And the Putnam principal decided, who wasn't even at the game, decided that he didn't want the players to go out on the field. So Putnam ended up forfeiting that game last week. So I don't know what that does to them mentally coming into this one. I don't know how it affects them as a team. So, maybe a little opening for Social Circle there, but we'll just kind of see what happens.
All right, Social Circle, I think it's homecoming over there on Friday night too. And I had one more thought about Social Circle, but I forgot, and that's what age does to you. But anyway, LCA is going to be at home, a Thursday night ball game for the Lions against a team that Dominion's in front of them in the standings. So a big game for LCA.
Now, I think that's at Dominion. I think it's up in Marietta. But yeah, this is probably going to be their biggest test since they've gotten into the GSA. The Dominion team's solid program. They're 4-0 right now, and really dominating in their 4 wins. So yeah, it's going to be a big test for the Lions. See where they stack up heading into possibly the postseason.
All right, it came back to me. The thing that impressed me about Social Circle last week is they're playing hard, and truthfully, you can't say that about some of the Social Circle teams in the past.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Coach Estes, he's a veteran coach. He knows what he's doing. He's done it before. So yeah, it's kind of nice to see a ray of hope over there, but sure would be a burst of sunshine if they could get that first W.
Monroe area off this week, and good time to be off.
Yeah, they definitely need it. It's as good as Loganville started. It's been that bad for Monroe. They've really struggled. Of course, no surprises last week against North Cobb. That's just a solid program. That their team last year would have might have struggled against that team. So. Good time for them to be off. They really need a chance to regroup and get ready heading into region play, which starts next week. And of all places, it starts at Madison County, where last year's game got pretty heated and interesting.
All right. High school football on Friday night. Get out and support your team, and David and I will see you next week.